December 21st, 1968 marks the flight of Apollo 8. The world knew about the famous Apollo 11's first landing on our moon. But little did they know about Apollo 8. The first manned orbit in our satellite caught a strange light.
The astronauts see something down on the lunar surface. There's a strange light down there.
This is an unusual phenomenon that up until now remains a mystery. In fact, NASA speculates that this was a campfire. Does a campfire on the moon sound strange to you? If yes, you might want to check on the moon after watching this video. Apollo 8. The Apollo missions have a long story to tell. Despite the fame of the Apollo missions, there's still facts about them that are not widely known. There's no denying that Apollo 11 was a historic success. But before that even happened, previous missions have paved the way for this to be a success. In this video, we will be highlighting Apollo 8. Fortunately, this mission was a success, but behind the story of success, there comes a mystery that we will access. The story ignited.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, the Saturn V still is the most powerful machine ever made.
When the $185 million spacecraft, known as the Saturn V rocket, blasted off to the moon. This historic launch was held at Kennedy Space Center. It passes behind the moon in its orbit after traveling 240,000 miles through space. A nerve-wracking moment followed when Apollo 8 lost radio communication with our planet. But luckily, it was restored. This was the first mission of Apollo that reached the furthest distance from Earth. Apollo 8 is a remarkable voyage through space. It was a significant milestone for space travel. This is for the reason that it was considered the first human journey in orbiting our satellite, which is our moon. One of the missions of Apollo 8 has something to do with the crew who flew all the way there. It was one of their priorities to test their performance. Aside from that, other detailed objectives encompassed the test to refine the spacecraft system. A thorough investigation was also conducted for future lunar exploration. But here's the thing. Did you know that this mission was not really designed to carry a man to go there? Originally, the plan was that Apollo 8 should be unpiloted, but the Soviet Union's decision changed everything. They said that they might be ready to send astronauts to the moon. NASA agreed to this, although it was a risky idea. Imagine the dedication of spacecraft engineers and all scientists who worked hard just to carry out their mission. From the multiple attempts in astronauts to risk their lives just to get to the moon. If you remember the first Apollo mission, you would know the story of the first tragedy. This was supposed to be the first manned Apollo flight, but it led to the 3 astronauts' devastating death. From then on, the hiatus of astronaut launches was quite long. What they did instead is that they tested spacecraft and other observatory machines. This unmanned spacecraft is designed to jumpstart the study of astronauts attempting a journey to the moon successfully. We have 3 brave crew from NASA to thank: their commander Frank Borman, Command Module Pilot James Lovell Jr., and Lunar Module Pilot William Anders. They might not have set a footprint on the moon like Neil Armstrong, but they did encounter something strange that left their mission very memorable. Strange light. During the 4th day of their mission, on Christmas Day, they saw something on the lunar surface. This event heralded a transcript record that'll change the track of Christmas songs to an eerie mystery. There's a confidential record in the Apollo 8 mission transcript. The document was an archive collection of NASA, and little did they know that it records a confession by the astronauts.
This is not some rumor or some conspiracy. This is something that is documented officially.
If we can scan this document and scroll all the way through page 230, we can see that throughout this 270-page document, there's a weird event. From a normal conversation to a random phenomenon that caught their attention. Lunar Module Pilot William Anders started to bring up what he noticed. He says, "There's a strange light out there." And then Commander Frank Borman replied, "Is it a bonfire?" Lunar Module Pilot William Anders replied again and said, "It might be campfires." Amateur investigators who spotted this part of the conversation were mystified to know this happened a long time ago. But unfortunately, a document is what they just hold on to. The crew of Apollo 8 failed to capture an image of this said campfire. But not until Apollo 11 was launched. Aside from the famous story of the successful landing on the moon, did you know that Apollo 11 has a strange phenomenon similar to Apollo 8? Yes, it's true. 7 months after the mission of Apollo 8, Apollo 11 launched to the moon, and there they saw the same thing the two astronauts described. At that moment, one crew of the Apollo 11 took a picture of it. As they investigated the image at a higher resolution, the photographs became more clear. Scientists say these dark marks on the lunar surface could be what Apollo 8 astronauts saw as smoke. That's why they assumed they saw the same thing that Apollo 8 described as a campfire. What could this be? NASA is really having a hard time solving this mystery. NASA's unsolved mystery. When there's a mystery, speculations from various experts arise. For this strange event, investigators considered that this was just a natural phenomenon from the moon. However, this claim contradicts other experts' theories. One fact about our moon is it's a dead celestial satellite. So this means that fires cannot start in there in the first place. Besides, there's also no oxygen. That's why the experts aren't convinced that it was literally a campfire. What they did instead is to formulate more possible ideas, to research what the source of this smoke could be. One theory states that this could be from the launched activity of the rocket. This is because rockets can be one source of fuel, and from there comes oxygen.
I suppose it's a possibility. I guess there might be some smoke from it. There's still some fuel on board.
From all of these components, it's widely speculated that it could be a source of the smoke. The smoke was said to be formulated from the impact of the rocket booster on the lunar surface. Experts determined this could be the source of it all, but it turns out they were wrong. NASA tried to investigate this theory. They tracked the path of the separated booster from the Saturn V rocket of Apollo 8. Based on the recorded document, they found out that the booster from the spacecraft didn't impact the surface of the moon. In fact, it was still in orbit at that time. So this crosses the theory out of the list. Now let's proceed to another theory. It was from a geologist named Peter Schultz. What he found out doesn't directly test his claim, but instead, it supports its idea.
Could it be that there was some form of eruption, but eruption of cold gas? Could this have been what they saw?
From his thorough study of the moon, he says that there's a region that has a hardened lava lake that contains a trapped gas. These gases eventually throw up from the lunar surface. Given that the color of our moon looks like a shade of smoke, perhaps this could be the reason it appears like a cloud of smoke dust. But that wasn't the case. This is because this region that we're talking about is far away from the location of Apollo 8 back then. Specifically, it was on the other side of the moon. So how could this be? Unfortunately, this case falls into NASA's unexplained files. Many years have gone by and we're still left with no answer. We might not have an answer, but you should check out the version of Apollo 8 that touches humanity, a legendary story from history. Christmas on the moon. You see, Apollo 8 might be underrated, but the fact that astronauts had a memorable Christmas outside Earth is an epic enough story. It was exactly an early Christmas Eve when the crew of Apollo 8 reached its destination. Apart from the strange conversations between the astronauts about campfires, there exists the wholesome compliments of astronauts towards our planet. They were astonished to see before their very eyes of the Earth's view from the moon's orbit.
And there over the lunar landscape was the Earth. The Earth was beautiful. It was the only thing in the whole universe that had any color.
With the black of space and the dreary, foreboding lunar terrain in the background, Earth appeared to be a colorful Christmas ornament sprinkled with hues of blues, browns, and white color. Apollo 8's Christmas Day on the Moon heralds a new era of exploration. It was indeed a scientific leap worthy of a worthwhile celebration.
And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good Earth.
Who knows? Perhaps aliens celebrated with them. The question is, was this a really strange phenomenon? Or perhaps we humans are not the ones who are just on a mission?